Ladies and gentlemen, lend me your ears, not as spectators, but as witnesses to a turning point. In a moment, the scales of justice were called upon, the gavel struck. Judge Thomas dared to challenge my presidency. The words echoed, Traore is in violation, his mandate illegitimate. But what he meant as a blow exploded in his face. Judge Thomas, you aimed to sway the world, but you awakened the soul of Burkina Faso. Do you see now that your challenge reverberated not just in courtrooms, but through every household, every village, every city? You thought you would rattle us, but instead you awakened our determination, and you misjudged the man you targeted. When I rose to lead Burkina Faso, I did not rise for glory. I did not rise because of personal ambition. I rose because my people were dying under the weight of a system designed to suffocate them. The ones who came before me, the so-called democratically elected leaders, were puppets. They danced to the tunes of Paris, Washington, and Brussels. They opened the doors of our land to foreign companies who came to mine our gold, to steal our resources, to leave behind holes in the ground and poverty in the villages. Our children were dying while our uranium-powered French cities, our soil was stripped while our people went hungry. Should I have stood by and watched? Should I have folded my arms and waited for another savior who would never come? No, I chose to act. Let me speak plainly. You call me usurper, you call me strongman, you insinuate I serve only the elite. But who is the real servant of the elites? You, Judge Thomas. You sit at the courthouse, your robe pristine, your ambition cloaked in judicial language, and by whose benefit, not mine, but theirs, the foreign corporations, the multinational vultures, the financiers in distant capitals draining our minds, pillaging our land, commoditizing our people. You speak of corruption, but for whom? For the foreign lobbyists? For the oppressors who demanded legal authorization to empty our coffers? Call it a coup if you wish. Call it illegitimate if it makes you sleep better at night. But my people know the truth. They know that power was taken back, not stolen. They know that sovereignty was reclaimed, not overthrown. They know that I did not come to serve foreign masters. I came to serve them. And no court in America has the right to declare otherwise. When I seized the reins, when I stood in this office, it wasn't to subjugate, it was to liberate. The blood of our ancestors courses through my veins. Their memory demands protection of our soil, our water, our gold, our future. What good is a presidency if the very lifeblood of our nation is siphoned off to pay interest on foreign debt, to fill foreign reserves? No, I dared to stand. I stood because the alternative, silent acquiescence, would mean the theft of our heritage and the betrayal of our people. Judge Thomas, you question legitimacy. I ask you, what is legitimacy if not defined by the people, by the voice of every working mother in Ouagadougou, by every farmer tilling the land in Banfora and Babu Dulasso, by every child who dreams of a future unmarred by hunger and exploitation? You rule through paperwork, I rule through people. The day I declared myself president, I did so after exhausting every available channel. I did not seek glory. I did what the Constitution could not, what the monopolized institutions could not, what the foreign-backed courts refused. I stood for sovereignty. And let me be clear, not just sovereignty of state, but sovereignty of spirit. To those who say I acted rashly, I say, better a resolute hand than a feeble handshake. Because while they negotiated in air-conditioned rooms outside our borders, our assets were sold, shipped, and lost. While they cast ballots in the comfort of foreign capitals, our minerals were stripped, our wealth dissolved into capital flows to foreign investors. That is the real illegitimacy, not standing up, but lying down. And now, under my leadership, we chart a new course. You ask, what is your vision, Mr. President? I tell you, a vision blazing with ambition. I see Burkina Faso lifting itself, not on borrowed money, but on the strength of our resources. We will put our gold in national vaults, not foreign banks. We will refine our cotton here, create jobs, not export raw materials for pennies. We will harness our solar, our water systems, our human capital. I want us to become the #1 economy in West Africa, not as an act of hubris, but as a commitment to restore dignity. Judge Thomas, you brand me as a coup maker, but history will judge you differently. When I came to power, the country was bleeding. Debt, predatory trade deals, imported poverty. I acted so that our country wouldn't bleed out entirely. I didn't usurp power. I wrested back what was already ours, our sovereignty, our resources, our right to exist as masters of our fate. You wonder, why did he choose to rule? You ask that question with suspicion, as if my decision to lead this nation was born of ego or personal ambition. But you are mistaken. I did not step forward to taste power. I stepped forward because silence was no longer an option. I stepped forward because while we debated protocols, procedures, and pleasantries, our nation was being gutted, our wealth stolen in daylight, our people left to rot in the very land their ancestors defended with blood. I chose to rule because the looting would not stop itself, and I refused to be a spectator while my people were strangled into submission. Understand this. The predators were already inside the gates. The International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, the offshore financiers, the multinational corporations. They didn't invade with tanks, no. They arrived with contracts, with briefcases, with smiling faces and poison hidden in technical jargon. They dressed in suits and ties, not in uniforms, but their mission was war all the same, an economic war. Army, the CIA, and they were winning. They told us, this is globalization. They said, it's for your development. They signed deals that allowed them to extract our gold, our manganese, our copper, our land, while we were left with the dust, the pollution, the empty promises of foreign aid. And what were we supposed to do? Clap like fools and call it investment? No, I chose to rule because our leaders before me bowed too often. They accepted crumbs in exchange for sovereignty. They flew to Paris, to Brussels, to Washington, begging for loans with interest so brutal it guaranteed dependency for generations. And when the money came, it came with strings tighter than chains. We built nothing. We owned nothing. The numbers looked good on paper. Growth, foreign direct investment, macro stability. But what did the numbers hide? Hunger, unemployment, illiteracy, youth migrating by the thousands, mothers dying in childbirth, schools without roofs, hospitals without medicine, farmers without land, streets without light, hope without breath. That's what they didn't print in their glossy economic reviews. So I chose to rule, not because I desired to sit in a palace, but because I couldn't stomach the silence anymore. I couldn't look at our elders who gave everything for independence and tell them we were still colonized, just under a new name. Economic slavery, Judge Thomas. That's what you defend when you speak of law, when you defend those systems. You call my presidency illegal, but was it ever legal to sell a nation's future for a temporary seat at the table of exploiter? I didn't rise to be polite. I rose because we are being robbed, and the thieves come wearing the smiles of partners. They measured our surrender. They watched how quietly we complied. They saw how our leaders hesitated to speak too loudly. They noticed that whenever we tried to nationalize our assets or question unfair deals, we were told we'd scare away investors. That word, investors, has become a code for those who take everything and leave nothing. I remember the meetings, the endless reports, the promises of aid if we just stayed quiet, if we just stayed in line. They told us, don't nationalize your mines. It sends the wrong signal. The wrong signal to whom? The thieves? They warned us, don't regulate our companies too heavily. You'll lose foreign interest. Interest in what? Exploitation. They said, don't speak of sovereignty. It's outdated. I say, if sovereignty is outdated, then what are we but tenants in our own homeland? So yes, I chose to rule. I chose to break the polite silence of servitude. I chose to stand where others sat. Because there comes a time when choosing not to act is itself a betrayal. Silence in the face of economic rape is complicity. And I will not be complicit in the theft of our children's future. They'll say I broke the rules. I ask, who wrote those rules? Who benefits from them? Who enforces them? When you realize the law has become a shield for thieves and a sword against the poor, then breaking it is not a crime, it is an obligation. This wasn't about a lust for power, it was about reclaiming a stolen destiny. Our gold belongs to us, not to shareholders in Canada or Switzerland. Our uranium belongs to us, not to the boardrooms of Europe. Our farmland belongs to our people, not to foreign agri-tycoons with fake deals signed in hotel rooms. The fish in our rivers, the oil beneath our soil, the air above our heads, all of it, every grain, every drop is ours. And until I drew breath into this presidency, no one dared to say it with conviction. You see, the international order is not neutral. It was built to favor those who already have everything. And when a nation like ours, small, determined, proud, tries to rise, we are immediately labeled unstable, authoritarian, populist. Why? Because we refuse to die quietly? Because we reject being ruled from abroad? Let me be clear. I will not apologize for loving my country more than I fear your criticism. I will not kneel before the architects of our poverty. I chose to rule because someone had to say, enough. Someone had to draw the line. Someone had to carry the torch once held by Sankara, Lumumba, men who understood that justice without sovereignty is a lie. You speak of democracy, but what is democracy if it only exists in name, while foreign powers pick our leaders, fund our media, dictate our economy, and steal our future? That is not democracy, it is puppetry, and I will not be anyone's puppet. I answer to my people and to history. I chose to rule because I saw what happens when we wait for someone else to save us. Nothing. I saw the empty promises, the decades of delay, the treaties that never delivered, the reforms that led nowhere. And I said, if not now, when? If not us, who? So Judge Thomas, to you and the world, I do not apologize. I do not retreat. I do not doubt the path I have taken. It is not paved with gold, but with purpose. It is not an easy road, but it is the right one, and as long as I breathe, I will stand firm for Burkina Faso, for our dignity, for our independence, not on paper, but in the soil, in the economy, in the soul of our people. That is why I chose to rule. My people deserve a president who fears God, but fears not his people. Understand what I mean when I say that. I do not speak these words lightly. I do not invoke God as a shield or a slogan, but as the source of my accountability. My allegiance is to something higher than man, higher than any institution built by ambition or corruption. But after God, my loyalty belongs to my people and to them alone, not to foreign interests, not to bureaucrats in echo chambers, not to cowards who sign away our inheritance behind closed doors, and certainly not to men like Judge Thomas, who mistake procedure for principle and silence for peace. I fear no foreign entity. Let that be heard loud and clear, not in whispers behind curtains, but boldly in the full light of day. I fear no nation, no agency, no international body that believes it can impose its will on us because of the size of our economy or the weight of our debts. Those debts were built by criminals in suits. Those structures were designed not to uplift us, but to cage us in eternal repayment, to hold us hostage in our own home. And to those who dare try to leverage our dependency against us, I say this: our soul is not for sale, not for dollars, not for euros, not for any foreign currency. Our sovereignty is not a bargaining chip. It is our birthright. I fear no domestic weakling, no shadow figure lurking behind titles, whose only talent is brokering deals beneath tables while pretending to serve the public. These men who thrive on compromise with thieves, who equate survival with surrender, who wear patriotism on their sleeves while stuffing their pockets with foreign favors, they disgust me. They are not leaders, They are middlemen in the grand betrayal of our people, and history will remember them not as statesmen, but as footnotes in the downfall we refuse to allow. What do I fear then? I fear weakness, the kind that infects institutions, that numbs nations into accepting injustice as a daily routine. I fear the kind of weakness that wears a smile while chains are tightened, the kind that teaches our children to dream small, to keep quiet, to leave if they want a future. I fear the erosion of pride, because when a people lose pride, they lose the will to fight. And when the will to fight disappears, freedom dies quietly in the dark. You see, they trained our judges in foreign capitals. They brought them back here dressed in gowns of imported justice, fluent in laws they didn't write, loyal to systems they dare not challenge. And now these men sit in courtrooms, quoting clauses as though they were divine commandments, interpreting justice in the language of those who once colonized us. But let me be clear, I do not fear these courtrooms. They can issue their rulings, draft their verdicts, summon their officials. Let them come. I do not fear these courts, because I do not recognize their moral authority over a struggle they were never part of. A courtroom that ignores the cry of the people is nothing more than a chamber of illusion, and I do not fear the declarations of foreign capitals, whether it is Paris, Washington, London, or Brussels. Let them write what they will. Let them call me dictator. Let them issue travel bans, freeze bank accounts, threaten sanctions. They have done it before, and they will do it again. But I did not come to power to win their favor. Time to restore what they tried to erase: our dignity, our control, our right to live free of permission from those who once enslaved us and now disguise that same domination with diplomatic language. But there is one thing I do fear, deeply, truly, and without shame. I fear the loss of hope among our people. I fear waking up one day to see a nation that has stopped believing in itself. A people who no longer dream of greatness, who no longer trust that change is possible. A youth who trade ambition for escape, who see the sea as more promising than their soil. That is my nightmare. That is what keeps me awake. Because when hope dies, revolutions end, movements collapse, even truth loses its voice. Hope is our final weapon, and I fear the day it falls silent. That is why I came to power boldly, not timidly. That is why I did not sneak in through negotiation or whisper deals through trembling lips. I came with purpose, because Burkina Faso had reached a breaking point. We were circling the drain, selling our souls drip by drip, under the illusion of development. Our budgets were dictated from abroad. Our priorities were set by consultants who never walked our streets. Our natural resources were priced by foreign hands, our policies tailored for foreign approval, and our youth told to be patient while their futures were burned to ash. Enough. My ancestors did not fight colonial rule just for us to trade one master for another. They did not bleed so that we might live quietly under the boot of global financiers. They held the land with ferocity, not for land's sake, but for life, for identity, for the right to build without asking permission. And I will hold this presidency with that same ferocity. Because this presidency is not mine alone. It is the embodiment of a promise to those buried in unmarked graves, who died resisting the first wave of invaders, a promise to those who marched for independence, who organized under candlelight, who spoke when speaking was punished. A promise to the children of this soil who still believe, despite everything, that greatness is possible here, not just elsewhere. I will not let them down. And to those still questioning, still doubting, still waiting to see if I will bend, I say this: I am not here to manage decay, I am here to reverse it. I am not here to negotiate with thieves, I am here to expose them. I am not here to be liked, I am here to lead. And if that makes some people uncomfortable, good. Real change should be uncomfortable. Revolution is not a dinner party, it is a reckoning. Let it be known across this continent, across this world. Burkina Faso is no one's experiment. We are not a charity case. We are not a market. We are not a puppet regime waiting for a foreign hand to pull the strings. We are a nation with history, strength, and unmatched resilience. This presidency is a fire lit in the dark, a fire that will not be extinguished by foreign reports, biased news cycles, or cowardly judges with foreign loyalties. It will burn, and it will guide us forward. I fear God. I fear the people's disappointment, but I fear nothing and no one else. And I will not stop until we walk tall again, not as a shadow of what we were, but as a beacon of what we must become. Who will stand with me? Those who say we are stepchildren of the world will have no place in this movement. We are rightful heirs of a rich soil. We will process our own resources. We will manufacture here. We will build here. We will educate here. We will determine here. And the challenge of Judge Thomas, the intimidation, only accelerates us. His courtroom spectacle forced us to unite, to recognize that our collective will is more powerful than any judicial decree. His miscalculation, believing law is simply paper, when law in our land is the heartbeat of the people. You tried to challenge me, and you fueled my mandate. Be clear, I did not rise to power to rule with gentleness. I did not rise to power to negotiate our decline. I did not rise to power to be part of the status quo. I rose to power to challenge, to disrupt, to rebuild, to shine. I say it without apology, without hesitation, without cloaking it in diplomatic language to soothe those who prefer quiet servitude over righteous struggle. This is not a time for gentleness. This is war. Because it belongs to power. To force it down, gentleness is a luxury for nations at peace, for societies that have already secured their future and their freedom. We are not there, not yet. And I refuse to pretend otherwise just to make others comfortable. I rose not to comfort the comfortable, but to awaken the silenced. Do you know what it means to negotiate your own decline? Do you understand the humiliation of smiling while your resources are signed away? Do you know what it's like to watch foreign consultants lecture our ministers on how to run our economy, using statistics drawn from models that never considered our culture, our land, our soul? That is what previous governments did. That is what they accepted. That is what they normalized. They negotiated our poverty. They sat in global conferences clapping for their own irrelevance. They signed documents that allowed others to decide how much we could grow, how much we could borrow, how much we could spend on schools, on hospitals, on food, on roads. And every signature they put down was a brick laid in the wall of our dependency. They were not leaders. They were managers of decline. And I will not be one of them. The status quo, that rotting structure held up by the false pillars of foreign aid, corrupt alliances, and silent suffering, I spit on it. I did not rise to be another smiling face in the parade of mediocrity. I did not rise to wear fine suits, attend empty meetings, and tell my people that progress is complicated. I did not rise to watch while foreign corporations drill into our earth and leave nothing but scars. I did not rise to raise flags over buildings we don't own, in a country we barely control, in an economy built to serve everyone but us. I rose to challenge. I rose to say enough. I rose to ask the hard questions no one else dared to utter. Why are our people poor in a land so rich? Why are our farmers starving on some of the most fertile land on the continent? Why do our youth risk drowning in the sea rather than live in their own country? Why do we export gold and import hunger? Who profits from our confusion? Who designed this trap? I rose to disrupt that system, not tweak it, not reform it politely, disrupt it, tear it from its foundations. I will not apologize for being loud, for being forceful, for being direct. When a house is on fire, you do not whisper about safety. You shout, you break windows, you throw water with everything you've got. And make no mistake, Burkina Faso was burning, spiritually, economically, politically. And the ones who set the fire now have the audacity to blame the man holding the hose. Let them talk. Let the foreign commentators sit behind their microphones and call me a disruptor, a radical, a strong man. They do not understand what it takes to rebuild a nation after decades of betrayal. They do not feel the pain of mothers who bury children not from war, but from preventable diseases. They do not walk the roads filled with potholes where ambulances cannot reach the dying. They do not drink the dirty water or stand in the endless lines for medicine or dig in the soil only to be told the profits belong elsewhere. I rose to rebuild, not with foreign blueprints, but with our own hands, our own minds, our own vision. We will not be a charity case. We will not be a warehouse for raw materials. We will not be an eternal apprentice to the West. We will build industries that process what we grow and mine. We will educate engineers, doctors, and teachers who stay, not flee. We will restore confidence in our institutions, not by outsourcing them, but by reclaiming. We will clean out the corruption, not just the petty theft, but the large-scale betrayal that signs away our future. We will restructure the economy to serve the people, not the markets, not the investors, not the foreign shareholders who never set foot on our soil. We will rebuild what others said was too broken, too far gone, too complicated. They say it's impossible. Good. That means it's worth doing. And yes, we will shine. We will rise from the shadows, not just as a country surviving, but as a country thriving. I see a Burkina Faso that leads, not begs, that trades on fair terms, not desperate ones, that walks into international halls with pride, not submission. I see our children reading history books that no longer skip our names, that no longer teach them to idolize foreigners while ignoring their own heroes. I see a people with their backs straight, their eyes forward, and their hands building, not begging. This is not a fantasy, it is a necessity, and I will not be deterred. I will not be gentle with those who steal from our future. I will not be soft with institutions that crush our potential. I will not be silent in the face of injustice, even if that injustice is written in legal language or masked behind a flag. This is a revolution not of violence, but of will, of reclaiming what is ours, of saying to the world, we are here, we are awake, and we will no longer be controlled by your fear or your funds. To those still trapped in the thinking of the past, move aside. To those who prefer stability in chains over freedom with sacrifice, step back. To those waiting for permission to be great, wake up. Because I am not here to whisper change. I am here to declare it, and that declaration will shake boardrooms, rattle embassies, unsettle the comfortable, and inspire the forgotten. This is why I rose to power, not for approval, but for truth. Not for tradition, but transformation. Not for permission, but for power. Power of the people, by the people, for the people. I did not rise to be part of the system. I rose to rebuild it from the ground up, and no matter how long it takes, no matter how hard it gets, I will not stop until Burkina Faso shines. Imagine, if you will, vast solar farms in the Sahel where power pulses, not just for cities, but for farms, schools, clinics. Imagine gold mined ethically with fair wages, value added here, profits reinvested here. Imagine cotton processed in Bobo Dioulasso factories, employing thousands, not cut down in the field for export with no local benefit. Imagine universities teaching agronomy, engineering, medicine, graduating leaders who stay, not leave. That is the Burkina Faso I fight for. Judge Thomas, you stand in your courthouse staring at me through legalese. But I stand in the streets, in the fields, in the markets, supported by voices. Voices that have names, dreams, families. Voices that say, enough. Voices that say, we will no longer be the silent nation. Voices that say, we deserve dignity. So go ahead, double down on your challenge, issue your rulings, send your summons. But know this, I will respond with courage, with conviction, with purpose. I will not back down. I am president by will of my people. My mandate is not in pages, it's in pulses, the heartbeat of Burkina Faso rising. You accuse me of coup. I'll accept that label before I accept being labeled a phantom of foreign interests. I'll be a coup maker if that means a regime that ends the selling off of our future. I'll be a coup maker if that means land for our farmers, jobs for our youth, sovereignty for our children. My presidency is not just my name. It is your turn. It is your chance. It is your awakening. See, I fight not for myself, but for every woman who toils, for every student who yearns, for every worker who sweats, for every elder who hopes. So let Judge Thomas speak. Let the challenges come. Let the world hear the echoes of doubt, the whispers of criticism, and the open accusations that some dare to level against me. I welcome them. Every word spoken against me becomes fuel for the fire of change. Every judgment, every decree, every insult, they do not weaken me. They strengthen the resolve of those who dream of a nation that is no longer a pawn in the hands of foreign powers and self-serving elite. Do you see, Judge Thomas, the difference between us? While some sit comfortably in the corridors of power, cloaked in prestige, shielded by wealth and influence, I stand among the people. I hear their cries, I feel their pain, I live their struggles, and that is why no accusation, no threat, no attempt at undermining my authority can touch the core of my mission. The more you try to silence me, the louder our collective voice becomes. Every challenge you issue, every move you make to strip me of dignity or legitimacy, only sharpens the resolve of a people who have long been told they are powerless. Every decree hostile to me becomes a rallying cry for those who believe we can stand on our own feet, who believe that Africa's future belongs not to the elite in distant capitals, but to the hands that till our soil, the minds that dream of innovation, and the hearts that beat with the pulse of freedom. You can issue rulings, pass judgments, and wield the weight of your office, but your power is hollow when measured against the courage of a nation that refuses to kneel. Your authority may be recognized in the gilded chambers of the powerful, but here, among my people, it is respect that is earned, not demanded. Let it be clear, I am not defined by the fear of retribution, nor am I diminished by the condemnation of those who profit from injustice. Every injunction, every critique, every attempt to intimidate me defines me more clearly, not as a dictator, but as a liberator. I am the man who saw the looting of our resources, the pillaging of our wealth, and the betrayal of our sovereignty, and I decided enough was enough. I refused to be a passive observer while others treated our nation as a commodity, and that is what makes this struggle righteous. That is what makes this mission just. They call me a usurper. They call me reckless. They call me dangerous. But history will not remember me by the words of those who cling to privilege. It will remember me by the deeds I perform for my people. When I took the mantle of leadership, I did not do so for fame or fortune. I did not do so to indulge in the trappings of power. I did so because our nation demanded courage, because our people deserved a voice that cannot be bought, a vision that cannot be stolen, a hand that cannot be chained. Judge Thomas and all who stand in opposition, hear this. Every attempt to weaken me, every smear, every attempt to undermine the legitimacy of my presidency only illuminates the truth I fight for. That the world may try to define power in terms of wealth and influence is their choice, but I choose to define it in terms of justice, in terms of dignity, in terms of the unwavering ability to put my nation above all else, and I will not apologize for it. I see clearly the forces aligned against us, those who profit from our poverty, those who thrive on our divisions, and those who fear a continent that will rise without asking permission. But even in the face of their intimidation, I do not falter, I do not bow, I do not yield, because the legitimacy of leadership is not given by the courts of foreign judges or the nods of global elites. It is earned in the streets, in the fields, in the classrooms, and in the hearts of every citizen who dares to hope. So speak, Judge Thomas. Challenge me if you must. Let the world bear witness to the clash of ideals. Let history judge between those who defend entrenched power and those who fight for liberation. Every decree you issue, every word you utter against me, every attempt to strip me of authority only strengthens what is just and exposes what is corrupt. You may think your power is absolute, but your power is fleeting. My purpose is eternal. I am not afraid. I am not intimidated. I am the voice of those who have been silenced, the hand of those who have been shackled, and the heart of those who have been abandoned. I stand resolute because I know the path we walk is righteous. Every step I take, every decision I make, every act of courage, it is for the future of our nation, for the dignity of our people, and for the promise that we will no longer be spectators in the story of our own land. So let Judge Thomas speak. Let the world watch. Because with every word against me, with every challenge, with every attempt to undermine the work we are building, you are not stopping us. You are forging a people more determined, more united, and more fearless. And one day, long after the voices of the critics fade, the story will be told of a leader who chose courage over comfort, integrity over indulgence, and liberation over compliance. I am not a dictator. I am a liberator. I am not a servant of elites. I am a servant of my people. And no decree, no judgment, no challenge, no matter how powerful it seems, can erase the truth that freedom, justice, and self-determination will always prevail. Remember the moment. This telling of our story will mark the turning point. Either we let international courts script our destiny, or we script our destiny ourselves. I choose the latter, and I choose us. Burkina Faso rising, not for the elite, but for every drop of sweat, every dream, every future. That is my presidency. That is my challenge. And together, we will see it through.